Hello and welcome to a game of two halves. Here's what we have coming up. Patrick Biolwas goes deep into detail about esports in Wales, and be advised as student journalist Sam Hill recounts a nasty injury. That and much more to come. Cardiff Council have announced the development plans for a destination skate park in Llanrumney. It is set to be an inclusive space that supports Cardiff's vibrant skate culture as well as Wales's wider goals in sustainability and Olympic competition. The World Championships of Darts is set to begin in 2 weeks and will have 6 Welshmen in it. Nick Kenny, Robert Owen, Rhys Griffin and Jim Williams will all compete in the first round, whilst Gerwyn Price and Johnny Clayton are seeded in the last 32. The FAW revealed that Wales's home leg in the 2025 Euro Championship playoff final broke records. The team played in front of a crowd of over 16,000, the largest Wales women have ever seen. And third-year student Jordan Jones visited Gwale United to find out what the news meant to a club dedicated to women's football in Wales. Jane Ludlow won 352 caps for Arsenal and managed the Welsh women's team for 7 years. We caught up with Jane to find out her thoughts on the ever-changing landscape of the women's game. Next up, Patrick Biolwas firmly believes that esports will be Wales's #1 sport in the future. We heard what he had to say. Sam Hill is a second-year sports journalism student at USW, who also plays football in the Bucks League. During a recent game against Cardiff Met, Sam sustained a nasty eye injury, which caused the area around his eye to swell. We caught up with Sam, who told us what can happen when a journalist takes to the field. That's all we have time for. Take a look at what we have coming up next. Join us at 12:30 for the next episode. Thanks for joining us on a game of two halves. I've been Iestyn Thomas. Goodbye for now.
Let's speak to rugby journalist Iestyn Rhys Thomas, who's joining us live on LBC News. Was this inevitable, Iestyn?
Yeah, you could argue that it would. You know, Warren Gatland, of course, during his first spell as Welsh head coach, brought a lot of success with multiple Grand Slams and multiple Six Nations tournaments as well. But especially during the second stint, you know, the record of 14 straight Test defeats, and I believe it was 26 games played, and then 20 of those were losses. So you kind of felt that his position was untenable, especially after the defeat out in Rome last Saturday.
What's going wrong? What hasn't been working?
Well, I think many have criticised Wales with their attack, and especially compared to other nations like France and Ireland, you know, in terms of just getting into that attacking shape quicker. And it was a lot of examples during that first half out in Rome where Wales just didn't really know or where they were attacking in terms of, you know, where the ball would be played to. It just felt like some players were just there in some sort of structure. But I think on the whole, the problems do run a lot deeper outside of the Welsh head coach. You know, you'd have to have a pretty thorough, investigation of the Welsh Rugby Union, especially over recent years with their control of the professional game. But that is a story that we could be talking about all night long.
I had a conversation about this to Welsh Rugby Union journalist Iestyn Rhys Thomas.
Well, it's a pretty grim day for the Welsh national team. You kind of look at it through the lens of the South African pack certainly dominating in all aspects, really. If you look through the scrums, the lineouts, they were on top for most of that aspect of the game. And when you're defending as much as Wales have been throughout the autumn campaign, then eventually it was all going to tire out. And unfortunately, from a Welsh perspective, that kind of really happened against one of the best teams in the world.
Well, what's happening with the Welsh national team? I mean, their heritage and history is a national sport there. And the past, you say it's been a terrible day, a horrible day, but it's been this way for about 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, it's been quite a troubling few years for the entirety of the game in Wales. There's current talk at the moment of a cut out of the professional team. So currently there's 4 teams in Wales, and they would like to cut it down to potentially 3 teams as soon as possible. So there's a lot of discussion and talk about that at the moment. But in terms of the national side, a lot of key players had retired in between the era of the 2019 World Cup and the 2023 World Cup. So you've got your Jonathan Davis, your Dan Biggers, your Alan Wynne-Jones, players like that who have had so much success with the national team over many years, including Six Nations and Grand Slams and World Cup semi-finals. So you take away that experience all at once and you're left with a pretty bare squad for international rugby, despite maybe having players who are performing well at club level. But it's just a case of a lack of an experience, and certainly today against South Africa, a lack of power to really get anywhere near the size of the South African forwards, which proved costly near the end in such a defeat, which is record-breaking. Unfortunately, it's the second time Wales have conceded the most amount of points in a home game in 2025. England had that record in March, and now South Africa have extended it by a couple of points today.